Well, we're back to the Sears Powersharp 1970s roughly electric chainsaw. We took it apart and we were going to try to clean it today. And so let's see, oily mostly, oil on it. And so I thought, well, I'll try some penetrating oil as a solvent. See what that will do. Take off some of the stuff with a little bit of this orange cleaning goop, and just wipe it off. It's not really so bad. It's just greasy looking on the outside. Lever. Some cracks in the case. Top, looks like somebody spilled some varnish on it. Probably got dropped or something. The whole case has cracks running through it. Has a set of teeth to hook up against the tree. Forget what that's called. Most of these cracks don't have any entrance to the engine or to the gas motor, so they're really not a problem if they are dirty inside the chain area. That's the oil entrance, so we want to make sure the oil slot here works. Actually, if we pump the oil lever, we get oil coming out. So that all works. Grandpa quit using it because he got really laid up. He couldn't even use this one anymore in his last maybe year or two. He was in his, I suppose, 84 or 5 and had problems getting around, problems with his heart, problems with his legs. Now I think I'll take the frame bolts off. I've got a wrench or two over here in my, I have a tool wrench area with a few wrenches here. Most are outside in the garage. Must have at least one more. I'm working in the basement because it's cold outside, and this is really a 100-year-old basement, and we moved into it a few years ago, and we haven't cleaned out the stuff that's down here yet. Well, I don't find my wrenches. Had an adjustable wrench here. Where I would put it. Right there in front of me. Okay, so there's a screwdriver, a flat blade screwdriver with a nut on the back side that's loose, and it was wobbling, so we know it's loose. Got a nice flat bladed now the other side probably's got the same thing. Yeah, here is the screwdriver head, and there's the nut. Can we see if it'll come off? Blade is ready. What do you think of that hammer? Get the dirt out of the Yep, it's coming. Chrome is on the chip. Got rubber handle. So we're down to the basic motor pretty much. I suppose that might have been glue when it cracked. Looks like they maybe tried to glue it together. Seems to be holding together pretty good, so maybe their glue was good glue. You can see where it ran down below. When Grandpa died, I believe it was 1980. He was born in 1894, so he'd have been about 86. He and Grandma sold their farm to my brother, older brother, and before they sold it, my dad, Grandpa asked my dad to take some of the stuff out because he moved up here to live on our place with his wife, and he thought he might get better, so he thought, well, even if he lived up here, he better have some of his tools and stuff. So they brought up stuff like this, I think, because I never used it because everybody of my dad and brothers always had gas chainsaws that worked fine, and so just sat for 40 years. It's probably 50 years old, I guess. So I'm not going to get it much prettier than this because of the glue lines and everything on the case. Looking on the internet about this, I didn't find too much, but Sears had made a bunch of electric saws of various sizes, and this is one of the early ones, and they had put on what they called their Powersharp system with this special chain and this special little grinding unit that would rub up against that chain and sharpen it. You just adjusted it so when you turned the knob and brought it out, let me get this out. Brought it out, it could tip ahead and rub on the chain. You pressed it like that, grind the chain, maybe a couple of turns, I don't know, and then tip it back and push it back into place. This is some kind of either aluminum or white metal or something, probably aluminum. We'll try it all when we put it back together. The bearings are one on this end of the electric motor and one on the other. I haven't got down in there to figure out how to do the brushes or to clean the armature, but I think I will try, for the fun of it, taking out one of the brushes and see what happens. Ooh, it's spring loaded, has a little plastic screw, and there is the brush, and it just screws on there. So you can put it back in again. When I tried running it, it only goes in, see, obviously it has to have the curve, so it slides in one way. I gotta go this side up. Okay, this has to go to fit in the notch. And then this goes this side. Whoa. A little bit plastic is a little bit brittle, I guess, or sort of crumbling. You have to be careful with that. Down in there is the armature. To clean it, I think my best shot is to put a piece of sandpaper down in there and see if I can hold it down against something. I wonder if I've got some fine sandpaper here. This is 80. Appears that I don't have anything finer. Got these discs. Well, when you're in really trouble, you go to your wife and get a couple of those fingernail file devices. Let's see. We were going to check the chain out. It's the only chain I found for it. It's quite a aggressive looking chain. I think what I'll do is I'll work on the bar just a little. Let's see if we got a nice clean groove there. It doesn't look or feel worn very much. It might be Grandpa didn't like it or couldn't use it much. Not sure how that oils. There is a tiny hole in the end. Let's just take and put a little penetrating oil just in there to see what we... Sometimes they had a really tiny little oiler, but I can't hardly think so. I think it must be supposed to get its oil from the chain running. Trying to see if they can feel a hole in it. Right there is a little hole, so I suppose that's where the oil leaks into the center. Cleaning up a little bit there. Kind of eager to put this back together and take it out and try it on a chunk of wood, just see what happens. Now it actually you can read that it's a 19190 317 A0 77 Don't have my glasses along. The oil comes in to this hole, or this hole, so those two then are supposed to feed it into the chain, we would guess. Actually, that hole there is where it feeds into the chain. So there's a hole on either side, so if I put the bar in either way, it will feed oil. I need to clean that out so it will feed. Pretty gunked up in there. My blade is just a little bit wide for the groove. Now it's coming out. Now let's do the other side. Yeah, it's pretty well wedged in there. We'll give it so the oil should flow pretty good. All depends on oil being oozing down through and being the chain passing it along. Now the back of the chain. Or the bar, I should say. The bar looks fine though. Now, to see if these holes actually let in oil, blows through them. Now let's see. I think I can put this on without putting the handle on. I don't have the chainsaw wrench for this one, but it takes a 1/2. That's not too bad. Give it a couple squirts of oil. See if there's any seems to come out of the chain area. Couldn't tell if there is or not. I don't have it on straight anyway. Something that's not quite lined up. Oh, I imagine it's the chain tightener. Let's see where that is. Right there. So I have to drop it on so that's in there. Now it's in the right place. Well, I think it's time to try putting it together. Since this was the last thing I took off, why don't we start with that? Now we'll get the screw on, the handle back on. Not down there yet. This one I had started it and it came out. I hadn't got it yet in there. Let's try again. Should have left the other one loose. There. I think I got it. Ooh, that's better than it was. Quite a nuisance. Ah, this comes off. Okay, now it's in the sprocket notch. Well, it looks like it's still in there. It came out again. Okay, it's in the spot, so let's tighten this thing. Let's move this thing. The tightener is so close to the blade that it's hard to get in there too. Right up tight against the blade. Bends the bar. Okay, let's put on the other one and see if by any chance we actually got it where it belongs, or if it's out of the... Yep. That doesn't turn the motor over though very. It takes a lot of grip there to... So let's tighten it up some more. I guess the idea is, since it's self-sharpening, the only time you take the chain off is when you get rid of it and put a new one on. So it doesn't have to be very easy to put on and off. Well, let's tighten up the bar. I believe it is on there. All right. Pump a little oil on it. Got some paper towels in the... My. Well, it did run, so I think before I worry about the brushes, I'll take it out and actually test it on some... That's what I want to do, is test it on some kind of a piece of wood to see what kind of possibilities it has. To keep the sawdust out of the motor. This does have a motor. It's not an engine with a motor. I'm in the basement where the furnace comes on and off, so it gets noisy. But it's heated in here, and it's 28 outside, so I wanted to monkey around with it in here first. Okay, so all I have left are 3 parts. That's a chain for a different machine. And then this sharpener business. Now the sharpener, this thing sets the depth that it can go in. So way down, oops, I gotta push it. Way down means it can't go very far against the chain, so we'll start out down so it can't get up there, and then when this slides, it brings it over to the chain, and in it can't be there. It sort of locks over, although it feels like it could jiggle it in the wrong place. Well, let's put it together, what the heck. See, this will grind on the chain as it comes underneath it. But we'll try that out. So when this is out, it's away from the chain. When, let's see here, when it's in, see now it's a long way from the chain, so I can set it now well, I'll put the thing together first, and And then we'll worry about adjusting it, because I can see from the bottom how to adjust it. Let's see, one of this is the longest one, then the medium one, and then the short one. Okay, so now it's in the position, if I have it out, it's supposed to be not sharpening in. Well, I've got it quite far away from the blade, but I think it should be a spring to hold it out when you're not sharpening it. Well, I'm gonna I don't like that. So let's try it. We'll turn the knob. Okay. So as I've got it so it's rubbing on the grindstone now off. So there is a spring in it. So that holds it out of place safely. So now I'm going to let's see, bring it out. Okay, I want it out of the way to start with. I don't want it to start grinding my chain before I know what I'm doing. Okay, there's no more parts. I'll have to clean up my workbench. Put this on here so the next time it falls on the floor I won't. My really interesting Uncola cup. We're going to now take it outside. Well, I've been monkeying around with cleaning up Grandpa's old 1970s or so, 70s Sears Powersharp corded chainsaw, and I got it cleaned out. There's some oil in the oiler, and I am got ready. I didn't sharpen the chain. It's a self-sharpening one, but I'm going to try, see what it'll do. So I've got the plugging it in. First I give it a couple of, sounds good. So let's see. Here's a chunk of oak, about 6 inches in diameter, dry, so it should cut pretty hard. So let's see what happens. This handle is in the way. We'll take a look. The sawdust that it's cutting off is actually quite big pieces, so it's a pretty aggressive chain. Forgot to pump the oiler, so I have to do this. Now it's dripping oil off the end. The self-sharpener is the next thing I want to try. So to do that, let's get this thing over here. I push this knob, turn it, whoop. The knob, there, it rubs against there. Then I think if I just push this way, it's supposed to sharpen. So let's try this. First we'll try it with the back. Whoop, I gotta have that away from my... That's right, I better get myself a place to set this. I had bungee corded my piece of wood to the table here. I'm gonna not tip it up, and so I'm gonna try. So right now if I turn this way, it's supposed to rub on it. Yep. I can see sparks coming out. Let's see. Yep, now it's off of out of the area. So let's take our chunk of wood. Now last time I was too close to the bench. Give ourselves a little more room. A couple of oils. I better bungee down my thing. It's moving all over the place. That bungee cord is about done for, isn't it? Must be enough to hold it. Let's see. The chain maybe is a little... Well, it's not as good as one of my gas chainsaws. Be interesting to put a regular chain on it, see what it'd do. But it cuts that oak. Okay. As my brother says, with some of these, I may never use them, but they'll look good on my auction when I'm done. When I die, my buildings are all full of junk like this. Interesting. Well, that's it for this one.